Welcome to Polygon's Overview series. I'm Charlie Hall. I've got with me today Mr. Griffin McElroy. How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you, Charlie?
You know, I'm doing all right, except I'm stuck on this desolate beach surrounded by triceratops.
Yeah, don't mess with triceratops. They're not the most aggressive monsters, but they got those horns.
Well, they're certainly not the least aggressive monsters that I've found here in Ark Survival Evolved. Have you heard about this game?
I have. I hear it's the new hotness, and I think it's because of the way that it has evolved survival. Much like Halo evolved combat, this game is doing something totally new with the concept, I think. I don't know. I haven't seen anything from it. What is this game? Tell me, Charlie. I'm scared.
Well, this is from Studio Wildcard, and it has been available on Steam's early access for right about a week. And I don't know if this is reasonable or not, but they've made about $10 million so far.
Cheesy, crazy.
This thing is taken off like a rocket ship. And I'll tell you why, Griffin. It works. Unlike so many other survival games that launch into early access,
Yeah.
the core functionality of this game works perfectly well. Now, the graphics are a little hitchy, and it's very demanding for even high-end systems, but that's something that they're working on. The gameplay works. Look at me. I'm hunting dinosaurs. I'm throwing spears.
It's pretty sweet. It's not especially effective. It doesn't seem like your hunting technique. Is it all just spear throwing, or do you have multiple tools at your disposal?
The crafting system, I'm going to tell you, is really something else. So the two weapons that I've been able to craft so far, one of them is the spear that you're looking at here. Another item that I've been able to craft is actually a slingshot. So you kind of pull the slingshot back and you shoot the little stones out, and the stone ammunition you collect from the environment.
Okay, all right. I don't know a lot about dinosaurs. I'll be the first one to admit that. Like, everything I know is from the Jurassic series of films. But a slingshot doesn't seem like the most effective weapon against a dino. They got tough hide.
It does certainly take a while when you're using the slingshot, but the reason that you use a slingshot and not the spear is because you don't want to kill the dinosaurs, Griffin. It's not always the objective to kill the dinosaurs. Sometimes you just want to knock them unconscious, and then you get to make them your pets.
That's the best thing I've ever heard. I heard a rumor you could ride around on dinosaurs, but based on the chatting I've seen you do in the company chat room, you have not been especially successful at taming a dino as a mount.
No, it's super challenging. So the way that they've done the dinosaur taming is actually very interesting. You need to knock the dinosaur out, and then you need to start feeding it while it's semi-conscious. And so I've been able to knock out a couple of dinosaurs, but the process of feeding it and taming it while you keep feeding it these special berries that keep it unconscious, called narcoberries, takes hours. At the end of this video, I actually managed to knock out a stegosaur that I found trapped on some environmental detail. Definitely a glitch. But I knocked him out with my slingshot, but then I started feeding him, and like literally 3 hours later, he was only barely half tamed before I ran out of narcoberries, and he woke up and killed me with his tail.
So tell me, do you also have to worry, because every other survival game, Rust or I'm blanking, but there's thousands of them. Every survival game, it seems to like boil down to the developer coming up with all these like NPCs and cool creatures and stuff you have to fight and harvest. But at the end of the day, the thing that you really have to be careful of are other dick players who just like run up to you and murder you and take all your stuff. Is that a factor here?
In my first minute with the game, literally my first minute, I was punched to death by another player.
Okay, so it is a survival game on PC then.
There's also a local version of it, so you can play by yourself on your home computer at home. This is a selfie camera that's built into it. I can actually take pictures with my Stegosaur friend here. But yeah, it's honestly not as cutthroat as I've made it sound so far. I've actually had 5 or 6 different players come up and offer to help me and like go foraging for me. And the community, because the game is so incredibly dangerous in and of itself, the community is really kind of banding together to work together and try and do some larger builds and help each other. It's really
I wonder if that's just because there's more stuff to do in the game than there are in other early access survival games, because in other early access survival games, if there's not a lot to do, the thing you focus on doing is trolling people and murdering them and taking their stuff and burning their house down.
Exactly. No, you're perfectly right. excellent conclusion. There's about 48 square kilometers, and the majority of it, best I can figure, is dense, deadly jungle. But there's also secret areas of the map that the developers say people haven't even found yet. There's a whole underground cave system. There's
cool.
a whole underwater area, including underwater caves out in the ocean that people haven't come anywhere near finding yet. But then there's also these pylons that you're seeing floating in the distance. Griffin, you haven't even asked me about these bizarre pylons.
Tell me about the pylons, Charlie.
I don't know what they're
I'm
for.
sorry. I was distracted by the fact that you were just slowly torturing this poor dinosaur.
This is Stega, my female Stegosaur that I've knocked out, like I was saying. And I'm going to proceed to kind of tend to her. And she'll raise her little head and munch on some berries, and while I knock her unconscious with special poisons. But that's beside the point.
You are history's greatest monster.
One thing that the developers have said about these pylons that you're seeing floating is once you've leveled your character up, right, you'll be able to go to a pylon, fight your way through some dangerous enemies to reach the pylon, and use the pylon to upload your character to another server, or perhaps to a special server where the stakes are higher. So they've kind of wrapped the meta game that games like DayZ were famous for, people logging out of one server, logging into another with better gear and better skills and punking each other. They've wrapped that metagame into the game's fiction and have made a goal for people to do just that, to move from server to server.
That's interesting. So what kind of is there structure building a la Rust? Is there like how much sort of world customizing can you do as a player?
No, that's exactly what we're about to do now. You're able to take thatch and wood, even in the very early game, just the first 4 or 5 levels, and start building yourself your own little hut. And then you can put a fire out in front of it and start the fire, and you actually warm yourself over the cold evenings. And there's an actual purpose to the game mechanics for building these structures. It's not just a cosmetic thing.
But a T-Rex could just come and wreck your shit, right?
I haven't had dinosaurs destroy any of my structures yet. In some of the trailers for the game, that's shown as something that can happen. There's a T-Rex that comes rampaging through a player's wall and just takes out the whole camp.
Yeah, housing is like dinosaurs' least favorite thing. When they know that human beings are like comfortable and chilling, then they just hate that so much.
And this is a sleeping bag that I've actually just built. And apparently once you put out multiple sleeping bags throughout the game world, you can use them to fast travel between different places on the map. Haven't been able to prove that out, but that's what that one sleeping bag seems to tell me is possible in the game.
Interesting. So if you die, you just drop everything?
Depends on the server that you're on. So some servers are hardcore servers. That's one that I'm playing on right now. A little lower population on this particular hardcore server. And once you die, you lose all your possessions. But on a hardcore server, you actually lose all of your levels and all of the recipes that you've learned as well. This is one of my friends that came to kind of help me build this structure.
Don't trust him. Trust no one, Charlie.
He was a nice guy. It worked out.
He wants your fiber.
He actually died and left me a saddle, so that was cool.
Oh, that's sweet. He wrote that out in his game will.
So yeah, I've been really pleased with the way that the building mechanic works. It's really easy. You just you stick it. There's a green outline. You click the left mouse button, and you've thrown a wall up into your structure. It's really very straightforward, and it works.
Yeah, it seems neat.
So you can actually do multi-level structures. I haven't learned how to make ladders yet, but I assume you can make a whole tall set of apartments or whatever here on this beautiful river outlook.
Is it hard finding the right server? That was a big problem for me when I was playing Rust. Is finding a server that didn't reset constantly, and then I lost all my progress, or a server where just like it wasn't Thunderdome in there with some tyrannical ruler who just sniped you from his all-seeing tower. Has that been an issue for you?
It's been a huge issue. I actually haven't been able to get into a game since the day it launched publicly on Steam. All of the servers are full.
Oh no.
I actually had the developers set up a press-only server for me, but then they needed that server for the general population, so they took it away. I actually had to use the Steam console to go in and look at like the raw netcode and join a
Oh my
server
God.
from there. And it was, I've never been into that particular part of Steam, but once I did, I was able to find some open servers. The peak number of users that they're reporting right now is about 64,000 players at one time. It's just a crazy
That's
community that's just
insane.
jumped up around this thing.
I mean, I guess the game's been out a week, right? Like, it is as early access as it could possibly be right now. I like your hat.
Thank you. Another gift from my dead friend.
I also like how you're taller than the building you just built for yourself.
The customization options for building your character is really really
I-
nice. I made my character super tall.
I've seen some nightmare monsters get crazy. I think that might be the next Monster Factory is this game, because I've seen some horrific beasts be generated by this game's character creation tools.
So it's built on Unreal 4. They're projecting that it's going to be on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 in 2016. On PC, they're actually building this for DirectX 12. They want this to be just the prettiest thing you ever seen. So
Yeah.
thanks for taking some time and meeting my friendly Stegosaur friend here who is about to kill me.